Here in Germany, a court has convicted a Russian citizen for the murder of a Chechen exile in Berlin in 2019. Vadim Krasikov was handed a life sentence for the killing, which judges believe was ordered by Russian state security. The verdict is expected to add further strain to already frayed relations between Russia and Germany.
This is the face of a killer. In August 2019, Russian citizen Vadim Krasikov travelled from Moscow via Paris and Warsaw to Berlin, under a false identity. Krasikov approached his victim on a bicycle in a small park in Berlin. The victim was a Chechen exile seeking asylum in Germany. He was killed with 3 gunshots from close range. Krasikov then threw his gun and bicycle into the nearby river and tried to escape, but was caught shortly afterwards. He was arrested and has kept silent ever since.
That's a special situation that in this case we have the suspect, we have the person who is accused about murder. So we have evidence, we have the fingerprints, we have pictures. If you compare it with a Skripal case or with a Navalny case, we didn't have any person that we can question. So I think this is a quite unique situation right now.
According to investigators, data on Krasikov's mobile phone indicates that the crime was carefully planned. They say they found links to the Russian Veterans Association of the Intelligence Service, FSB, which several journalists believe is just a cover.
We can
see that Vadim Krasikov, the killer, started visiting FSB training centres as early as spring 2019. Employees are prepared for special operations there. As the day of the murder approached, he communicated more and more often with FSB employees. Towards the end, it was almost every day.
The victim, Zelimkhan Kangoshvili, had fought on the side of the rebels in the Second Chechen War. Moscow had designated him a terrorist.
This man was on our wanted list. He's a fighter, a cruel and bloodthirsty person.
The Kremlin denies any responsibility for the attack and did not respond to inquiries from Germany. 2 requests for legal assistance were answered inadequately, say the German authorities. The killing in broad daylight was a shocking crime which brought to mind the cloak and dagger spy stories of Berlin's past. Vadim Krasikov was in the dock, but for many observers it is the Russian state that has the most serious questions to answer.
Let's bring in DW Chief International Editor Richard Walker, who's outside the courthouse in Berlin. Richard, life in prison, what more can you tell us about the verdict?
Yeah, that's right. Really, the verdict very much following what the prosecution's case had been here, and ending with life imprisonment for the suspect, also without the prospect of early release. This a recognition of the severity of the crime here, and also, of course, most sensationally, acknowledgement and recognition that this crime was, in fact, a hit ordered by the Russian state. I'll just quote from what the judge was saying just earlier. In June 2019, at the latest, state organs of the central government of the Russian Federation took the decision to liquidate Kangoshvili in Berlin. Now, that couldn't be a clearer indictment of what the judge clearly believes has been proven was the Kremlin's involvement in what happened here.
Yeah, very strong words there indeed. Can we expect to hear reaction from the Kremlin about this?
Certainly they will be facing questions from us and many other media after this astonishing verdict. But we can expect them to continue with denials. And Vladimir Putin's spokesman in the past has pretty well rubbished any suggestion of Russian state involvement. But it's quite interesting to see what Vladimir Putin has said himself, really quite openly indicating that he saw the victim as a sort of enemy of the Russian state. And I think this points to something that has has been observed about this sort of spate of assassinations that seem to have stemmed from the Russian state in recent years, that while the Kremlin will, on the surface, deny any involvement, they have no problem with suspicions being out there that this is going on, because the objective of such assassinations is, of course, not just to eliminate the target, but to intimidate other people from crossing the Putin regime.
Richard, this is obviously not going to have any positive effect on frayed German-Russian relations. What do you think this verdict will? How do you think this verdict will impact those relations?
Yeah, well, frayed isn't really even the half of it. I mean, the relations are in a state of long-lasting crisis, and this is intensified just in recent weeks as we've been hearing the government now facing decisions, just like other Western governments, about what to do to try and deter Russia from potentially mounting an invasion of Ukraine, something that the West fears may be in the offing at the moment, trying to think of ways of how to deter Russia from going ahead with that. So that decision is there. Now there's a decision facing the government about how to respond to this incident. There must be some sort of response. It's going to be very interesting to watch how this government deals with that, because it's a test not just of its diplomacy, but also of its ability to find a common line, because we have the Social Democrats under Olaf Scholz, who've traditionally always been in favour of trying to have the most positive possible relations with Russia, whereas you have the Greens in charge of the foreign ministry, and they have always been very strongly critical of Russia. Now, the thing is, finding the right way ahead with Russia is a challenge that Angela Merkel, even somebody who knew Russia very well, really didn't succeed at over the years. Nobody has really found the secret to managing a productive and stable relationship with Vladimir Putin. Now that's the challenge for Germany's new government.
Challenging times ahead indeed. All right, thank you, DW Chief International Editor Richard Walker.